Luis, really good to talk to you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really good. It's nice to be here.
So we're going to be talking about Dust Palace, the HAUS of YOLO, which I'm assuming is You Only Live Once. So give me a sense of the show. What's it about? Because it seems like it's a combination of cirque and other things. So give me what your understanding of this whole production's about.
Yes, and my understanding of the whole production is a really cool, incredible show idea by Eve Gordon. So it's kind of like a piss take, a fun take on fast fashion. So we start the show as mannequins. So the four of us in a cast, and there's a spark of creation happens where we receive the spirit of this great fashion designer. Their name is Walt Couture. So we take turns playing that character. And as I was saying before, we start as mannequins, not wearing much. And by the end of the show, we wearing actually a bunch of random stuff that we sew live on stage as a bunch of circus have.
I saw that in the press release, this live sewing, and I thought, oh, that sounds really interesting. So you're actually making the costumes as you're
Yes,
performing.
that is correct. So lots of circus happening. We have circus apparatus and an overlocker sewing machine is working. We're working on that right now.
So every time you finish a show, do you have to take them apart again, or do you just start with completely new, fresh fabric?
Completely new, fresh fabric.
So every costume is simply for that show.
Yes, that's correct.
Man.
So it's live, fresh, and new. We have photos. We've done this show before.
Yeah.
So we have photos of every collection that has been created in the past.
That's brilliant. Did you have sewing experience yourself before, or
not at all?
So you had to learn on the job.
Yeah, it was actually quite stressful in the beginning.
I bet. Yeah.
Just you had no idea how a sewing machine work, patterns. It's actually easier than what I expected once you learn how to cut and close and sew a fabric.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it took some practicing.
So I just want to confirm here. So do you have to cut the patterns out yourself on stage? Or is that...
Yes, that's correct.
So the whole thing from cutting out the patterns to actually sewing and then putting them on is live on stage.
Yeah, that's correct.
Wow.
And that's why we have a camera focused on a sewing table, because it's literally, so you got a big piece of fabric, and then you have to remember, obviously you practice a lot, you know what you're going to have to sew. So you practice cutting it. And luckily we used fabric that is a little bit stretchy, but it has happened in the past that what I sewed, the person that was going to have to use had to shove their legs through it and cut a hole where I forgot to leave a hole for the leg. And that happens sometimes.
But that kind of mistakes like that add to, or wardrobe malfunctions, I think is the term, isn't it? I think that adds to the fun of it, though, doesn't it? If something goes wrong.
100%.
And you just have to go with the flow with that, right?
Yes, and we have learned to milk those moments.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. So that's really ambitious. Good on Eve for conceiving that as a concept, because that cirque itself is really amazing, but to add an element like that is very clever. And I guess you're going for the comedy, so that adds to the comedy.
Yes, it's definitely a funny show. Well, I guess this is the audience's thing to say if they find it funny or not, but it's definitely meant to be fun.
Yeah, no, fantastic. I noticed that it's R18 is mentioned. So just explore that, because you say you've got very little on to begin with. You're a mannequin. You're mannequins.
Yes.
So exactly how R18 is it going to be?
Well, I would say that we're doing a cabaret show. So a little bit of risque nudity happening. Some of the jokes are definitely for adults only. So some sexual content in the script. So that's kind of the lines that we are walking on.
Yeah, but that you do have elements of that in cirque or cabaret anyway. So it's sexy fun, and that's the way to think of it. Yeah,
there you go. That's a great description. Are you sure you've never seen the show before?
Not this one. Actually, I was going to say I've seen in the past. I've seen Dust Palace shows, and what's always amazed me is how effortless it looks. And flawless, and yet I know full well that it's not effortless. You put a huge amount of training and whatever. So what is involved in putting together a show like this? I mean, at the very least, you have to be incredibly fit.
Mm. What involves? Um, I usually say you have to be superhuman, and
Right.
that's what Eve Gordon is. They they started the Dust Palace 15 years ago, and to be honest, I've only been involved with them for the last 2 years,
Hmm.
but I obviously know about them for the last seven.
Yeah.
Once I decided to start on my circus career, and to be honest, to this day, I don't really know what the secret sauce is because Eve creates costumes. They understand about everything, the industry. They know everybody. They're so creative. They work so much in their craft and their own practice. But to answer your question, what's involved? Yes, lots of physical work, lots of rehabilitation, so to make sure you're not injured. Obviously, different people take different paths, but I'm quite mindful of what I eat, how I sleep, taking vitamins, taking supplements. And circus is so multifaceted in a way that it's not just about having the strength, it's about musicality. Um, it involves a lot. A lot of people that come to circus come from a gymnastic and a dance background, and you can definitely see, but not all of us have had this opportunity. So that means that it's just even extra work on top of everything. Yeah, stamina. Yeah,
And also, you've got to concentrate really hard because, particularly if you're up in the air doing something acrobatic, uh, a moment's loss of concentration, and it could lead to something that's not good.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's not just you. A lot of the times you are you're holding somebody else, you're catching another person, another body. So, which to be honest is it adds to adrenaline, and that's
Yeah, I
why
bet. Yeah.
yeah, people find it so incredible to watch. I find it so incredible to watch, but um, they're calculated risks, things that we train thousands and thousands of times, but the risk is there. Yeah,
It must also be quite liberating to do this kind of thing because to, to,
100%.
to take people, how humans normally walk and move and whatever, to do something that is so remarkable and inspiring for us all. It must be quite a treat to do.
Yes, it's very addictive. It's one of those things that when people, it's a little bit culty because once you start,
Right.
you get bitten by the bug, you
Yeah.
can't stop because it's a great way to keep fit, social,
Mm.
and never ending. It's just a never ending a learning curve.
And I guess you get quite close to your fellow performers, don't you? Because that aspect of trust is so important. So you have to make sure that you're not in a bad mood or something else is going on. So I guess there is that connection between people that must be quite strong.
Yes, is a great team builder. We can put it.
Yeah. So you recommend for all the corporates out there, maybe doing some cirque stuff might be good for team building in there.
100%. In fact, they can hire us, the Dust Palace, to do that.
Sounds good.
It happened actually a couple of times where we do corporate gigs.
Wow.
Then we
Yeah.
get some people involved, obviously safely
Of
doing
course.
some basic stuff. But that's a really good way to end a performance or to do interactive
Yeah.
performances, and people love it.
Yeah.
Of course, who doesn't want to run away with the circus for 5 minutes at the end of a corporate event?
Fly the trapeze, exactly. So how did you get into this? You're saying you've been with Dust Palace for 2 years. So what drew you in? How did you get there?
I saw a show by a company called Briefs Factory. It is an Australian company. I went by chance. A friend of mine took me on a Wednesday. Friday, I was there again to watch the show. And then on a Friday, I decided I was going to do whatever it takes to get to that place, to get the stage. So I was already 32. So obviously much older than most people in the industry. As I was saying, a lot of people they come from gymnastics and dance background and been doing that since they're kids. Luckily for me, I was always sporty, so I had some kind of a body awareness. But yeah, and then I found out about the spell. Started as a student, and here we go. 7 years later, we are touring New Zealand and Canada.
I was going to say you're about to go to Canada. That must be exciting. I think you're doing, is it 12 shows in Vancouver?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'll check with the producer. I don't know the
I've
number.
got a note here. So yes, you are definitely doing 12 shows in Vancouver.
Now I know.
Yeah. No, fantastic. Just a very quick aside, because I know you're on the Rainbow panel at Auckland Council, and you do other things in the LGBT community. So you've got a real kind of human rights kind of focus to your life as well. So just unpack that a little bit for me.
Yes, of course. I am originally from Brazil,
Mm-hmm.
and I am an adopted only child. So I grew up knowing that even though, obviously, as a queer, indigenous, Afro-Brazilian person of color, I had my struggles. I have my struggles in life, but I also have always felt incredibly privileged to have been given the chances that I have been given. So it was always really important to me to work in community services. So prior to my professional circus life, I was working for Youth Line for 5 years in youth services. So giving back to the community has always been really important to me, and I've been able to achieve that with circus, because circus is known for being quite elitist, is very elite, is very white. So to be able to be the first person of color in a Dust Palace poster is already a huge privilege, but also a way to show other people of color that is possible.
Mm.
I also don't know if you know, but the Dust Palace in conjunction, in partnership with Terehia Theater and Tepo Theater, we created a revolutionary body of work last year, 2023, with tour, but it took quite a few years to put that work together, called Te Tangia Te Tui.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a show that we also tour in Canada, and we are remounting it at the end of this year to tour the North Island, New Zealand, and going back to Canada in 2026.
Brilliant.
So it's quite incredible because, as I was saying, elite circus, in partnership with the Tepo Theater, we're able to bring a play that is entirely spoken in Te Reo Maori with incredible aspects. So apparatuses were created by Maori artists specifically for that show, things that have never been seen in the world. So human rights, it comes to me and comes to my life in that sense, that being proud of being a person of color, an immigrant, and participating and taking part in communities and helping elevate communities in the best way that I can. And now I'm doing that through circus in a different way that I've done before. But we'll do it as long as I can, as long as my body can take.
Oh, that's fantastic. And, you know, one of the things about the arts is that it does enable us to challenge power structures, ideas in society. And I know certainly becoming the arts in New Zealand, certainly becoming more and more diverse, which is fantastic, because ultimately we're all part of the same human family, aren't we? So
Yeah.
it's good that we
Well said.
we reflect back all that stuff, and good for you for pushing that. That's really fantastic. Hey, I know you've probably got more rehearsals to get to or things, so really love talking to you, and I'm really looking forward to the show. Really nice talking to you, Lewis.
It was really nice to meet you, Andrew. Thank you.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.